It's amazing to have you on my podcast. You're the first one from the London Assembly who agreed to be on the podcast, and it's amazing to have you on.
Thank you very much. I'm very lucky to be the first.
Now, when I first heard of London Assembly, I never heard it anywhere in the media. I never heard it anywhere announcing on YouTube. No, I never heard anybody talking about it. And when I went to the conference, I heard that you're one of the people working there, and there are actually quite a lot of people working with mayor for the London well-being
Yes.
in the London Assembly. So what are exactly the things London Assembly as a governmental body is responsible for?
Right. First of all, the London Assembly is 25 members elected at the same time as the mayor in order to hold him to account and scrutinise his policies. And we also have a remit to raise issues of importance to Londoners. And that's basically what we do and have been doing for 25 years. So where we feel the mayor is not doing what he should be, or we think stuff needs to be brought to his attention for him to pay attention to, that is our prime job. And we do that through we have committees on all the different subjects. So we have a policing committee, we have a committee about transport, planning. It's a very small remit the mayor has on health, but we have a health committee. And so we have an economic development. And those committees take evidence from Londoners and so either recommend to the mayor or create a report to recommend a course of action from the mayor. And we also have the right once a month to have the mayor in front of us by statute. He doesn't want to be there. He has to be there according to the
Q&A.
Q&A, the mayor's question time. And he then has to answer questions directly from the 25 assembly members. It's a good way of holding him to account.
Interesting. So it's like a parliament inside of London.
It's kind of a parliament.
Parliament specific to London.
Kind of thing. But what you've got to bear in mind, and I think it's why we haven't had more public attention, is that apart from in a few specific circumstances, we don't stick our hand up to vote for something to happen. We might support a motion to the mayor, for example, that something should happen, but we can't directly change it. The mayor is the decision maker, and it is the London Assembly that holds the mayor to account. So it's not quite a parliament because we're pretty much scrutiny only. And I'll say that those few times where we directly do have control, things like approving of the mayor's strategies and his budget. And by a 2/3 majority, we could overturn those budgets. That, however, has never happened in 25 years. But we always have that power, and the mayor knows that we have that power. And so it's sensible for whoever that person is to pay attention to what we're saying, knowing that we could completely kibosh his plans,
So is it mostly advisory powers you have to the mayor, or like question the power to question his authority?
It's advisory powers, but we also have the right to summons the mayor to come and give evidence on in particular instances. And we have the right to demand all the information that he has. We have the right to, for his deputy mayors who have a brief in different areas, so transport and policing and housing and the rest of it. We can summons them to come and give evidence to us if we've got particular concerns about the way in which his policy is being carried out.
Now, how is it? Has it got any clear interactions with politics inside of the parliament? Because I heard some of the people inside of the London Assembly are somehow as lords in the main parliament in Westminster. Yeah. How does that work?
We've had overlaps before. We've had situations where people have been elected as members of parliament while they've been assembling.
So then they have two jobs at the same time.
They for a period they have two jobs at the same time. We now have a member of the House of Lords on the Assembly, Sean Bailey.
Yeah.
But he gives his time to the Assembly more than does to the laws, because that's his responsibility. So there is some twin tracking, not a lot, but all parties of the two major parties, they've all at some periods had members of parliament who are also assembly members.
How does the dynamic work in terms of parties? So, like for me, it's always interesting to explore the battle between the parties and size of the parliament and calculate, because I've spoken to so many MPs and they explain to me that elections, um, everything that is going on in the parliament, voting is basically calculation. You have to calculate how many people will support you, have to calculate how much of the population you have to target in order to win an election. So it's a very interesting game of numbers to me. And in the assembly, I'm wondering, so you have 25, you said, right?
Yes.
25 um, assembly members. And how many of those are now Labor? How many of those are Conservative? What's the distribution?
We have 10 Labour members at the moment. We have 8 Conservatives, 3 Greens, 2 Lib Dems, and 2 members, one member who is a member of the Reform group. But you can't have a group if there's only one of you. So he's a Reform Party member, but he's not a member of the group.
So represents
one other independent member as well.
Interesting. Yeah. And hasn't been shaken by the 2024 election, or when were they?
Oh, it has been shaken because all of a sudden we have well, this is a political point. I am a politician, but we have a Labour group which previously attacked the government for absolutely everything, and now having to make excuses for that government when they do exactly the same thing as the previous government did. So
maybe a bit worse, but
I would say worse. I would definitely say worse. Things they remained amazingly quiet on things like the winter fuel allowance granted that was previously given to pensioners, and they seem to be quite silent on that now. So the political dynamics are the same. Though it's important to emphasize that the Assembly, because it is a different kind of political body to Parliament, is that actually we try to seek consensus. We try to see what everybody agrees is in Londoners' best interests. And so we seek consensus. We don't always achieve it. But there's this big secret that everyone, politics in general, they don't hide from the British public, but the British public is not very aware, is that actually we agree on 85, 90% of the things. But it doesn't help our members or our supporters.
Things like
to go around agreeing with everyone, because that's not why our supporters who put us where we are, they don't want to hear that. So you will hear political debate taking place on the floor of the Assembly, and it can be quite divisive, but 85 to 90% of the time, we are actually agreeing. And when we produce reports from our committees, it tends to be one on consensus. So, for example, picking out that I proposed a motion to the Assembly last week, and it was for the mayor to effectively lobby to get rid of the leasehold tenancies, which many Londoners suffer from, and to introduce a pilot scheme for common hold. That was unanimously agreed by the Assembly. We've also put recommendations to the mayor, for example, that he should set up drugs testing centres for those people who are using recreational drugs, and they think it's the best way to protect them is to ensure that there are testing centres in London. That has been a strong recommendation accepted by all the Assembly, and that is that the mayor has to act on. And so what we then do is, once we've done that, we then keep the pressure on until we get some kind of delivery from the mayor.
And sometimes, although you mostly agree on the stuff that has to be done for London. Specifically, sometimes those situations come up when you have to stand up for yourselves and stand up for the party, right? And how big is what is bigger for you as an assembly member? Is it the role of personality, what you would like to promote, or is it the role of the party, what party you would like to
Well,
promote through your existence
It's
in
a
this?
strange compromise because you're there because you're an individual. And
Of course, but then you have to adhere to certain principles
you
of
are
the party.
you managed to get there because you were a member of a party. If you'd have stood as an individual, the chances are you may not have got elected, probably wouldn't get elected. And we've had a not a strong record of independents being elected in the past.
Strong record is not small.
Like none. There has never been an independent elected.
Did you say there's one now?
That's only because that was a previous Labour member who is currently not part of the Labour Party, but I think he'll probably rejoin the party at some point. And so you're there because your party has backed you, but every single party is a coalition of people. Every single party is a compromise. You have left and right wings. You have what do they do it? The Liberal Democrats, orange Liberal Democrats, and and sandal wearing Liberal Democrats. And in every party, they are compromises. But it's in your best interest as an individual, with the passions that you have and the drive that you have as an individual to achieve things. You know that it is better to achieve those things by occasionally compromising.
Yep.
And the parties are compromises. You look at the Labour group, the Labour Party, you see very left-wing Labour people being quite concerned about what Keir Starmer is doing. And you see,
Are they though? I've never genuinely met or heard any Labour member of the parliament or person
they're
very concerned.
discipline in the Labour Party is a lot more draconian.
Maybe they would like to express that in public, but they are.
What you need to do is take them down the pub and get them drunk, and then you'll find out what they really think about their party leaders. It's the technique I've used for years. I mean, that's not an excuse for my drink habit, but no, you really have to listen to what people are saying in a confidential environment, and you hear what the tensions are. I mean, they are. I didn't. There was a time when we had two Green members of the Assembly, and I didn't realize until after they were no longer Green members how much they didn't get on. And how much they disagreed on areas of policy. So they were very, very disciplined in that respect. But what you don't see when you hear the party presenting its case, whatever that case, what you don't see is the debates are taking place in their group meetings. And I always say, the bloodier the group meeting, the more united we are as a party.
So you have to create a certain amount of chaos in order to.
Yeah, absolutely. I like chaos theory. Chaos produces order in the end if you allow it to have its time. And so when you hear a group presenting a case, you realize there are a whole lot of arguments behind that resulted in you presenting that case. And each individual member can stop a party, for example, going too far. I've been quite known for that in the past. It's grown-up politics to compromise. I know people don't like the term. They think it's giving in. They think compromise is giving in. It's not. It's about being adult and realizing other people have different perspectives in London. And it's that common path you're trying to get, which is in the interests of everyone. And that's, I think, what we do quite well on the Assembly, and yet still have robust debate about the important issues that face Londoners on things like the expansion of the ultra-low emission zone. There were many divisions on the mayor's ludicrous pursuit of rent controls, even though he knows that they never work anywhere. Um, uh, Things like policing will often take a different view from the other parties.
Now, how can you take a different view on policing?
Well, if we look at recently, we've seen a growth in mobile phone theft. Now, we've been pressurizing the mayor for a long time to set up a special unit to address that particular issue. And we would say that he is not very good at addressing uh, um, uh, addressing crimes as they appear, in terms of high volume crimes as they appear. He lets them go on for far too long. Years ago, we had things like catalytic converters being stolen. It took a long time for them to set up a group to stamp on that. In terms of mobile phone theft, it's taken a long time, bearing in mind that we did a survey of Londoners, and Londoners for quite a while have been worried about the safety of their mobile phones. The kids on motorbikes will snatch them.
I hardly know any people whose phone hasn't been stolen.
Exactly.
I hardly know any.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
Some people prefer to walk
Yeah.
in streets with different phones rather than the ones that they have at home.
Right.
And that's ridiculous. I didn't have that thing in the city where you live.
As though you have to constantly hide it. But this has been going on for ages, and it's what's curious. And you say, right, right. The effect of the London Assembly is that we developed a report that we submitted to the mayor only last week, and of course we asked a lot of questions about mobile phone theft. We called the mayor in and question him at assembly meetings and asked the police commissioner about it. Curiously enough, prior to the publication of this report, what happens? Oh, there's a crackdown on mobile phone theft, and they get together a group of officers to look like they're doing the job. So there are divisions in policing. Where there isn't a division is the confidence that we have in police in London. We've recently seen, for example, that the commissioner has been unable to sack, for arcane legal reasons. He's been unable to sack police officers who he considers are a threat to women. He's been unable to sack them. Now, that is a ridiculous situation to be in.
What's the reason for that?
The law says that the minimum requirements that the police set for being trustworthy are not sufficient a reason to prevent somebody being a police officer. It's a stupid law. But it needs to be changed. It's been the same for decades. And so we now have the situation where police officers who the commissioner knows could be a threat to women, he has two choices. He can either let them carry on as police officers or put them on administrative leave at home. So carries on paying them, but doesn't actually let them do their job. And quite rightly, he's chosen administrative leave. But we're now paying for these people who are potential risks to women to stay at home.
Oh, you're paying for many people who are staying at home and not working at the moment.
Yeah.
So a lot of money from the budget is going in that direction. But let me ask you this. It's very interesting for me because in Ukraine, we don't really have such thing as in the political landscape. We don't really have such things as you have to adhere to your party completely. Maybe we have that with Sluga Народа, Zelensky party to a certain extent. But we haven't had that. Certainly, we haven't had that for a very long time. Ukrainian politics is very individualistic field.
Absolutely.
And it's rightly hard to understand for different people who come in London with different mentalities and different political understandings, which are brought from their home countries. It's very hard for them to understand why are people so sticking to parties so much and not able to express any discontent with what the party is doing.
I think you are able to stick with express discontent in your party, but there's a general agreement. If you're in the party and then you say vote for someone else, you
Yeah.
leave that party. You can't do that. You can't do that.
No, that's basic.
So
Yeah.
it's a basic
Yeah.
thing. I've been to Ukraine many times, and I kind of, I won't say I understand it. I don't think Ukrainians understand their political system, to be honest, but I can't say that I understand it. But it does seem to be more personality based than British politics, where we tend to be philosophy based or your belief based political system. One of the things that and I don't want to tell Ukrainians what to do. But one of the things that struck me, and I went over to do a training program with counselors from Kyiv, and one of the things that struck me was how much they felt they just had to do what they're told. And
Interesting.
I will say whoever the boss was. And I tried to say to them, look, when you're an elected member, when you become elected, you have a mandate. That means you have those people who you represent standing behind you, and you are speaking for them. You are not actually speaking for the party. So that's where our system sometimes is weak. You are speaking for the people who put you in power. And fair enough, in order to achieve the best for them, you have to compromise with the party system that we have. But ultimately, it is they who you represent, and they must never be second priority to your own party political allegiances. Unfortunately, I think there are a lot of politicians in the UK, because of our party system, where they put their party first, and I don't think that's right.
No, I think that's a very interesting point. I can clearly see the distinction between Ukraine and other cultures in terms of their perception of politics. And this comparison between Ukraine and the UK it is certainly very, very valid. But thank you so much for your time. It has been amazing.